in excellent form. Here's the dismount. It's a layout, fly with a full twist, very high, and of course the first guy out of the box is already sticking his landings.
And he gets only a 9.65. Although had he been, say, positioned 5th or 6th in the rotation, he might have gotten another full point higher. He's more or less sacrificed, and the scores will become higher. But the better he does, the better those behind him, if they have a clean routine, will score.
Here's the tricky mount again. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Stoop through and jam right to the handstand. Once again, right through the handstand. As we mentioned earlier, the key on the high bar routine is to press all of those moves right to the top and challenge the handstand. Now that's the risky thing to do in the competition because of course there's always risk you might fall back the other way. But the Soviets are so well conditioned that they're going to challenge every handstand and try to stick every landing.
Novikov and the Soviets off to a start that promises to be as golden as everyone expects. It would be a major upset of these championships, the entire Olympics, if they don't win a gold in team gymnastics for the men.
Now watch how tricky this is. He's going to stem up to a handstand and stoop through, and he's got to jam with a half turn and top that off right on top. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Novikov waiting for his score. Let's go to the pommel horse for a moment, where the Chinese are on this rotation.
This, once again, is Wang Chongsheng finishing the exercise, and he really has a nice, clean style. Very high elevation above the horse, which is one of the things that the judges are looking for.
Novikov scores 9.70 for his high bar routine for the Soviets. So they start with a 9.65 and a 9.70, and they've got Lyukin and Belozerchev. Oh, boy, it's like the Yankees of 1927. We'll be right back.
NBC Sports presents the games of the 24th Olympiad, brought to you by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. By Pontiac, we build excitement. And by McDonald's, proud partners in the Olympic dream.
The Soviets and the Chinese expected to go 1-2 in the competition in their first day of gymnastics. Li Ning, what a star in Los Angeles. His 6 medals. No athlete in any sport won as many as 6. Here's Ning just moments ago on the pommel horse.
And pommel horse is always really scary to start on because you have a lot of nerves. You've been waiting for this moment for 4 years, and this is certainly the most perilous events because it's like the balance beam for the women. You have to be juiced, but you can't be overly explosive or you might just fly right off the thing. He really has a nice, clean rhythm. His optional exercise is outstanding, but his compulsory, as you can see, all of his fundamental techniques are exactly right on. Great dismount. Inside loop of the half.
25-year-old Li Ning, a 9.80 on the pommel horse. He's a national hero in China. Led them to the 83 World Championship. Now here is Lyukin, the sensational Soviet.
This is a really tough kid. We've talked for the last couple of weeks about how explosive he is in his optional exercises. Well, if he hopes to challenge Belozerchev, he's going to have a good day here in the compulsories, and he had a great start there on the high bar routine.
And he follows a 9.90 from his teammate Artemov.
He really has improved his style. He used to be kind of sloppy, but his form is excellent now, and I think he realizes that if he wants to challenge for gold medals, he's got to have more than just the exciting, dynamic skills. He also has to have the clean form, and it looks like he's got it all now, Dick.
And you get a real feeling for how the scores start to build, and with Belozerchev hitting in the hole, he's batting 6th. He'll be next.
Once again, here's the stem and the stoop through, the move called a half Takamoto, invented by the Japanese gymnast Takamoto. That move has to pass through handstand. And of course, his dismount is probably the best part of the exercise. First of all, a beautiful stalder. But watch how he hangs this flyaway with a full. He hangs it up in the air for a long time and then cracks the twist and drops out about 12 or 14 feet in the air. That's the way you do it.
That's like jumping out of a second-story window. Lyukin waits for the score. Again, just to show you how they've developed. Togalatsia 9.65, Novikov 9.70, Kardakov 9.65, Artemov 9.90, and there's Belozerchev He'll be 6th in the rotation. And it would appear Lukin at least is at a 9-9 on that routine, unless the judges spotted something that we didn't see.
I think he was a little bit over on the mount. He could top that off a little bit more. Certainly the judges are looking for every element to be maxed out. 9-9 is his score, of course. Not too shabby, huh?
You see the difference for those of you with us earlier and watching the Italians and the United States in the first session. And somebody said, it really is bad luck for the U.S. You start where you know the scores are going to be lower. Well, when you compare them with the level of these gymnasts, you understand. Here's world champion 2 times.
Here we go. Nice. He's just squeezing out every little bit of extension. Look at the timing. He's a little slower than the other gymnasts. Look at how he presents the exercise. What style, what elegance.
What a man. 21-year-old Dmitry Belozerchev. You know the story. When he was 16, he won the world's youngest ever. That was 83. 2 years later, just before the World Championships, auto accident. His leg was caught between the brake and the clutch and almost severed his leg. He had been a normal human rather than a Soviet treasure. They would have amputated the leg. He works, comes back, and wins the world again last year.
It's amazing that he even made the Soviet team, let alone come back to win. But watch how he squeezes the handstand out of that move. Really elegant work. It's very explosive and yet very elegant at the same time. One of the things that I think is especially nice about his style is he goes a little slower than the other gymnasts. He takes his time, and it looks as if he's extending right through the bottom of his feet. And, of course, no problem on the dismount.
Dmitry Belozerchev, a 9.90 for him. So Artemov, Lyukin, and Belozerchev all with 9.9s. And after the first rotation, the Soviets already a full point ahead on the team score over the Chinese. Oh, my. There's Li Ning. He had a 9.80. See why he's a possible movie star of the future. Hong Kong, China, even Hollywood, Scotland.
They're between rotations in the gymnastics competition. We'll return to Dick Enberg and Bart Conner at the Gymnastics Hall very shortly. We're looking at the 2 best teams in the world by anyone's measure. In fact, of the last 5 world championships, the Soviet Union and the Chinese have won them all, 4 of those victories belonging to the Soviet Union. On the other hand, with the Soviets not present, the Chinese were favored to win the men's team competition in 1984 in Los Angeles, and they were, of course, upset by the American team, of which Bart Conner was a part. As I said, more of the gymnastics coming up in just a few minutes. Now, to switch subjects.
Gymnastics continues. We're in the second rotation, and the Soviets are on the floor. Second man up is Novikov. Gogolatsi with a 9.80 to set the table.
Sure would be nice following a score like that, because the coaches know that, the gymnasts know it, the judges know that you're building to your best performance. And certainly getting off with a 9.8 is a good way to start the event. Novikov really shows the elegance of this tumbling run, the cartwheel, dive cartwheel, back handspring. This is a very odd floor routine for a compulsory. I actually don't like it at all, because this last tumbling run, watch, you can't run, you have to jump, round off back handspring, pike open, and it's very difficult to do it as well as Novikov did, because you can't show off your speed or your power unless you can generate it out of no steps at all. And of course, maybe that's the toughest test.
Vladimir Novikov. He's from Vladimir in the Soviet Union. Not named after him, but if he keeps this up, he may get at least a street.
He shows great flexibility here in the pancake. Back extension. Now watch, he's going to bend his knees and try and explode out. Very difficult to do this. Round off back handspring, pike open, and you have to explode out of the pike so that you can finish standing straight up and down. And of course, he did that very nicely. We'll see it better though.
Now at 18, and then with Kardikov only 17, you can see what the Soviets are doing. They're the best in the world by far as a team, and yet they still have you 9.85. Oh my.
Here they go. They're building to their better performance. We might even see a 10 here if the routines are that much better.
There's a look at the judging. 4 judges. They drop out the high and the low. The high from the GDR, East Germany and Canada, 9-9. Meanwhile, the Chinese are on the rings.
This is Wang Chongsheng. He's doing the dismount, which is a back with a full, the same dismount that they use off the high bar. Very nicely done. Good height, good clean line in the air.
Meanwhile, here's the youngster, Kardikov.
This kid is a real talent. I think the Soviet coaches, in fact, the other day when I was speaking with Akayev, the Soviet national coach, he said this is one of the biggest surprises on the Soviet team because he is so young and he's seemingly very steady in competition for a young athlete.
Great poise.
How about that? Look at the nice line, extension, good toe point. That's a very pretty handstand. Cartwheel, dive cartwheel, back handspring. All of this looks relatively easy. And it is. The judges realize that these are fundamental skills, and the gymnasts are being tested and compared directly on how well they do the basics. Here's that dismount, pike open. Oh, he had to pike down just a little bit, but he had nice height in the air.
17 years old, budding gymnastic Brezhnikov. Kardikov, Sergei Kardikov, he's 5'5.5", 132 pounds. Let's look at the standings after the first rotation. This also includes the first rotation from the first session, U.S. and Italy, and you see they've already dropped out of the top 4. Soviet Union already a sizable lead over Bulgaria. Romania, China drops to 4th. They had a lot of trouble in the pommel horse. Italy is 5th and U.S. 6th. Of course, we have still another session later tonight here in Seoul that'll feature the East Germans. 9-9 was that ring routine. There's Kardikov. He has a 9-9 with only the East German judge scoring at 9-8. And the cheer in the background, a Korean vaulter. Of course, they are cheering every move of their team. On the floor, Dmitry Bilozerchev. He's 4th in the order with Artemiev and then Lyukin 6th.
Of course, this is one of the events where you can see that Bilozerchev is really testing the strength of his leg after that unbelievably bad injury a few years back. And of course, that move there is very difficult because it's a toe touching. You have to come crashing down. And it seems like I've seen him practice that very rarely. In fact, it looks like he saves that event, that skill, for doing it just in the meets.
It was his left leg that was fractured, and then he worked so hard that he actually had to have surgery on his right ankle because he put so much pressure on it.
Cartwheel, dive cartwheel, back handspring. I think his younger teammate Kardikov had a little more height on that, although Bilozerchev sure has really a nice poise and a tremendous style. He really takes his time and says, hey, look at me. Nice finish. Now, he wasn't as high as Kardikov, but he finished higher because he opened a little bit later.
And every one of their dismounts just stuck cleanly.
This is a really nice combination. This is a real test for the athletes because they have to do neck kip to a Healy twirl, which is a move that you'll see on parallel bars later. And this is the press. You rock up and press the handstand. You must hold that for 2 counts, and you have to have a nice, even press all the way up to a solid, straight body handstand.
Meanwhile, Lo Yan is on the rings. Here's a dynamic performer. This is not his best event. Vault and floor are his.
Boy, but so far a nice start. He is very strong. He did a front lever, the inlocates through the handstand. That's a move called a front uprise. Now he's holding a move called an L. Right here, he does a hollow back press to a handstand. Once again, it's important that the rings are kept steady. There's a front giant. Now here's a tricky part in the routine. Dislocate, shoot through the handstand, and the dismount is a back with a full. Beautiful.
Rings were once called the Roman rings, apparently originating in Italy, this exercise. Old ones were made of iron. Bilozerchev, 9-9-0. Just to give you an idea again how good the Soviets are, all morning, all the athletes, we had one